and welcome to ABC Bullion's 360 monthly review. My name is Crystal Thivios, and I am joined today with Nick Propel, Global General Manager at ABC Bullion. Hi, Nick.
Hey, Crystal.
November, big month for
Very big
precious metals. Can you give us a summary of what happened?
I'll try, yeah, sure. As you know, we've discussed during previous things, obviously the vaccine and the success of news about the vaccine was a major driver for lower gold. You had quite a few other things going on at the same time. You had a slight rise in real yields through November, which was a headwind for gold. You also had the VIX, the Chicago Board measure of expected volatility. Yeah. That went down, and that probably took away some of the requirements for gold as a hedge, or some of the impetus for gold as a hedge. You had a great rebound in equities, and all of that in total, you know, can be sort of taken back to the vaccine story, where it was a sort of a risk-on move that disfavored gold but favored other assets. So you had gold in US dollars going down about 5%. You had gold in Aussie going down almost 10%. You had crude responding to, you know, more optimism, going up something like 27% for Brent, and the SPX going up about 10%. So you could really see how the different asset classes were moving differently. Yeah. Positioning wise, I think we had about 4.5 million ounces moving out of the, you know, the gold investor flows that we see, we mainly follow. So ETFs, I think about 3 million, managed money futures about 1.5. So that's, you know, managed money net futures went down almost 10%. So all of those things, you know, sort of put gold lower. But the really interesting thing is, you know, referring back to last week's conversation, gold retraced, I think 50% of the big March-August up move, 1763, found that spot, rebounded nicely. Yeah, so it kind of worked. It sort of, you know, it sort of moved according to the sort of what, you know, we discussed might happen. And now the bounce as of up to the weekend recovered about, it went to another fib level, which I think is important. And when you have the sort of local high made in November, that drop, it's gone back about 38%. So it's interesting to see whether it runs out of, looks like it's running out of a little momentum on the bounce. Let's see how that works this week.
Nice. So what's the outlook moving into December and towards the end of the year?
I think for the end of the year and the month in general, got to look at the fact that whilst gold medium term is very much in a bull phase, where is the local sort of resistances? I think 1865, 1890, below the daily cloud, which should be coming in around about 1890, 1900, yeah. Which will perhaps show that on the monthly report itself. Yeah. That's still the level that gold has to fight through to have a really strong close for the year. So look, it's done well. It's had an incredible year. I think through the rest of the month, which I expect, all other things being equal, to be relatively quiet, yeah. Those are the sort of resistance levels perhaps you should look for. And again, the 1763 support, you know, should be a decent support.
Okay. And what about silver? Did it perform similar to gold, or are there differences?
There seem to be some differences. When you look at the price action, you know, at first the price action looks broadly similar. They you know, silver has followed gold. But a couple of interesting things came out. Firstly, if you look at November in total, there was a net inflow into managed money positions. I think it was about net, not huge, about 5 million ounces, but the flow of money was in, not out, compared with gold. The other thing is that, yeah, on these silver ETFs, there was a bit of an outflow, but the outflow was about 1.6% of the total stock of silver held worldwide in ETFs. In gold, the outflow was about almost 2.9% for total gold ETFs. So you saw a more vigorous outflow in gold compared with silver. Yeah. That makes me wonder whether, given of the sort of, you know, positive economic news, whether actually silver's beginning to pick up that kind of industrial metal aspect and say, yeah, look, you know, this is 2021, could be a better year. Silver might take a little bit of a lead from that. But superficially, price action similar. underneath the flows are just a little bit different.
Okay, very interesting. And for our local investors, how's the AUD performing?
Well, AUD is still in the same frame that it has been for the last few weeks. You've got that move building up to targets, I'd say 75.5, 75.30. So that, short-term or medium-term move still playing out a little bit higher, and I expect it to go, to those levels. However, the long-term resistance sort of trend line comes in on at least one of our long-term charts, comes in around about 76, maybe just below 76. So I'm expecting the Aussie to struggle with that. Should it get above 75, you're then quite close to that resistance level.
Okay.
If you look at the economic aspects of the Australian dollar, if you look at, say, the balance of payments in, Australia's had a great run, particularly the second quarter of the year.
Yeah.
Fantastic, I think record-breaking numbers. But if you look at the third quarter results or third quarter statistics that came out last week, you've got about a 40% decline in the balance of payments for Australia.
Okay.
Now, that probably explains why the Aussie weakened a little bit, perhaps, but then it strengthened as a consequence of the US dollar weakening. And the last thing I'd say about the Aussie is that there's definitely an issue around, this sort of trade confrontation, friction with China. Got definite impediments to shipping iron ore and so on, and wine and other products there. So that's a little bit worrisome, because you can't just take such a major export partner and say, okay, well, iron ore can go elsewhere. It can go to India, Pakistan, Vietnam, and it's beginning to do that. But it's not easy just to say, okay, you take that much of our iron ore, distributing it elsewhere is tough.
Yeah, just totally replacing a trade partner.
Yeah. Can't replace, but trying to ameliorate it. I think the message from that is that's a little bit of certainly a bear factor for the Australian dollar.
Okay. And is there anything else of note in the precious metals market?
Yeah, we're not going to cover it in great detail on the video, but we'll try and do something on the actual monthly report. So platinum, if I recall the figures correctly, for NYMEX net managed money positioning, about short almost a ton or so at the beginning of November, now long about 22 tons. So that's had a really change in sentiment, no doubt, helped by the, vaccine news and expectations of, stronger growth next year. But what we'll do in the report is look a little bit at supports, resistances and targets, and try and give a little bit more of a sense of where platinum, might go for the coming month or so, which I hope will, be interesting.
Interesting. Thanks, Nick. And thank you for tuning in. For more, please subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us on our socials listed below. Until next time, happy trading at abcbullion.com. Thank you.
Thank you.